on the reason part. Okay, so reason 1, reason 2, reason 3, it goes on, and it can go on to the number of reasons given in the article that you are reading. So in this case, in the case of this article, you have quite a number of reasons. Okay, this handout that I shared with you, the worksheet, it is asking you for only 3 reasons. But the Toulmin method worksheet is just a sample. Okay, so you can add as many reasons as you want. Now, what is a reason? Whenever the writer has a claim, the writer should have a solid reason to support that claim. Does the writer have any reasons to believe in what the writer is believing? First of all, what the writer believes in? The writer believes in the fact that climate change is a myth. Now, if you read from second paragraph onwards, you will see that each paragraph gives one reason for the writer's claim. So if you look at the second paragraph, take changes in sea level. They keep banging on about how the warming of the atmosphere causes rising sea levels. But if that was happening, we would have seen it by now. It has been countless decades since they first started predicting this, but here we still are. But they persist in trying to convince us it is a real fact, citing places that were supposedly lost to the waves. And we are supposed to believe that places like Atlantis, Miami, and Skegness actually existed. You believe that rubbish, and you probably believe we landed on Ganymede, and you are an idiot, and so there is no hope for you. It continues, and where does this rise in sea level supposedly come from? Melting glacier ice? Like there was at any point massive blocks of ice just floating around in the ocean? You ever leave an ice cube in your drink last longer than 5 minutes? It melts. And yet we are meant to believe these ice caps lasted millions of years. They are not even trying to be convincing anymore. So the first reason the writer gives to support his claim, which is that global warming is a myth. The first reason is this, that the claim of the opponents that sea level is rising, that claim is not true. Why is it not true? Because had it been true, then the world must have drowned by now. Okay. Also, furthermore, the writer says that it doesn't make any sense that melting glaciers are causing rise in the sea level, because if you observe an ice cube in your drink, you would see that it melts away just in 5 minutes. So if we follow that logic, then all the glacial ice must have been melted by now. It has been over there for thousands of years. So why it still exists? So he's giving kind of, connected reasons, 2 connected reasons to support his claim in these 2 paragraphs. And those 2 connected reasons are the rising of the sea level and the melting of the glacial ice. So this is the reason the writer is giving. Okay, so in the worksheet, you can mention the first reason that the writer has given. But let me just open the worksheet once again over here. Now, you don't have to necessarily write the reason over here in the worksheet, but still you can state the first reason is that the first reason given by the writer is that the oceans are not, the level of the ocean is not rising and the ice is not melting. All right. So this is the reason the writer is giving. Okay. Even if the writer is using a very different kind of language and, a kind of a little more mature language, if one could say that, yet that is the, brief summary of these two paragraphs. That climate change is a myth because oceans are not rising and glaciers are not melting. Right? Now, let's look at the worksheet. Reason 1. What makes this reason relevant? Of course, we can say that this reason is relevant because it is directly related with the claim of the author, which is climate change is a myth. All right. What is the second question? What makes this reason effective? We can say that this reason is effective because it is based upon common sense. Now, remember, you will have that is your creativity. I cannot give you an absolute answer to this question, which all of you can copy. Each one of you have to think in your own way about the reasons given by the writers to support their claim. But I hope you are getting my point. I mean, you are understanding how I'm providing responses to these questions. So what makes this reason effective? The thing that makes this reason effective is that the writer bases this reason on common sense. This thing is a common sense that if the oceans have been rising for so many decades, then the whole world must have drowned. That is what makes this reason effective, is that this reason is based upon common sense. Similarly, the writer says that if the ice is melting, then all the ice must have melted in thousands of years. Why is it still there? Look at the ice cube in a glass of water, glass of drink, and the whole cube melts just in 5 minutes. So why is it taking that long for the glaciers to melt all of its ice? So again, common sense, right? Logical, common sense. So what makes this reason common sense? The first reason, common sense. What makes this reason effective is common sense. All right, let's move to the third question. What evidence supports this reason? Now you might be, you might notice something insufficient in the reason which has been given, the first reason which has been given in the article. Do you really find an evidence to support this reason? Students, would you like to say yes or no? Do you find any evidence? The common sense observation is there. The common sense says that if the oceans are rising for decades, the whole world must have drowned. And if ice has been melting for so many centuries, then all the ice must have melted away. That is common sense. But does the writer give an evidence? You know what is an evidence? I explained that in the article as well. I explained that in the lecture also. What is an evidence supposed to be? Anybody would like to respond to this question?
The evidence should be sufficient, credible, and accurate, meaning that it should have some sort of stats or numbers to
Good.
prove what the reason for the claim is.
Yeah,
And even though the reason is valid enough to support the claim, but the evidence to prove its point are not obtained just only by comparing two things that are alike. So
yeah,
just giving a situation of ice melting in a glass makes it clear and convincing for anyone to observe the difference, but they can't feel in the climate change, but may doesn't sound sufficient enough to connect it with the like the reason that have been
good,
given.
good. Okay, so simply we can say there is no evidence. All right, the writer doesn't give an evidence. I mean, he does give a reason, and he tries to make the reason effective as well by using common sense. We call it analogy, but you don't have to get confused by that word analogy, by giving a comparison as you have rightly put it. But there is no evidence over here. But now, once again, you know, not every article is required to have that evidence. You know, that is the reason for us to learn the Toulmin method, so that we should be able to point out the strengths and weaknesses of an argument. Okay, not all the arguments are always well phrased and well framed. Okay, now if we continue, is this the next question is this evidence sufficient? I think you will all agree that this evidence provided in this reason is not sufficient. In fact, it is almost absent. Is this evidence credible? Again, you would say no, because there is no evidence provided at all. Is this evidence accurate? Once again, there is no evidence provided. You can state it just like that. Okay. Now, if you proceed to read the paragraph under the image of ice, and don't get me started on the supposed food crisis. And then the paragraph continues. Now here the writer is giving the second reason to support his claim. And the second reason is the food crisis. So the writer connects food crisis with climate change, and he kind of calls out to the people who claim that global warming is causing food crisis, and therefore food crisis is a reason for global warming. This writer, however, will point out that that claim is not true. All right. So the reason two that he gives is that the cause of food crisis is not global warming. Okay, rather it is something else. All right. He in fact refers at the situation of the economy, and makes the situation of economy and makes capitalism and corporate culture the cause of food crisis. All right. So you will proceed with reason two in the similar manner. What is reason two that the writer gives? How that reason is relevant to the claim, how that reason is effective, what evidence supports this reason, is this evidence sufficient, is this evidence credible, is this evidence accurate? Okay, go on and go forth. And then reason three, I'm asking you to write just three reasons, okay? But as I told you, there are more reasons in this article, all right? Now come to the part at the bottom, page 2 of the worksheet, objection and rebuttal. I explained in the presentation that objection is the anticipated objection or possible objection which other readers or other writers might have about the argument which our writer is making. So the writer of one article anticipates the objection coming from the opposing position. She or he anticipates that objection and writes it down. And then responds to that objection even before that objection has been made by the opposing position. All right. Now that response is called rebuttal. Now you need to find over here where the writer has provided anticipated objection to his position, and how the writer has given rebuttals to those objections. So you might notice that each of the reasons which the writer has given in this article, almost each reason is based upon this pattern. It is already based upon that pattern. So what you can do is, after you have given 3 reasons, you can look for the objection and rebuttal pattern in remaining of the articles. All right. So you might go on with the extreme weather situation. You can go on with extreme weather situation as far as the reasons are concerned. You suppose you have given your reasons until until the point of extreme weather. The picture, the text under the pictures over here, this part. Okay, and then for the rest of the article, you can start looking for the in this part the objections which he might have looked for and their rebuttals, starting from here. Okay, maybe starting from here. Okay, if you feel like, if you think that you cannot find sufficient objections, 3 of them from this part of the article, from here, in that case, you can point out any objection from the earlier part as well. Okay. Now, for a specific examples, if you look at this highlighted part, urging us to use more wind power, but complaining about all the hurricanes we keep having, they got us all to convert to solar power decades ago, but keep whining about prolonged sunny spells. Make your minds up. So he is addressing his opponents over here and their objection to the writer's claim. Their possible objection can be that the objection coming from the opponents can be that we need to harness the wind power so that we don't have to burn the carbon coal. Now, the writer of this article that we are reading, he's, mentally kind of imagining his opponents making that claim. And he's providing a rebuttal to that claim or that argument which his opponents might make. So on the one hand, his opponents are saying that we need to harness the wind in order to use it for wind power so that we don't have to burn the carbons, because carbons also emit heat and carbon dioxide, which kind of contributes to escalation of temperatures. So he's not waiting for his opponent to say it. Rather, the writer of this article himself has already stated it. That look at them. They make these kind of claims. They say that we shouldn't burn carbons because carbons, they contribute to global warming. Now, the rebuttal this writer is making is this, that how come they advocate the use of wind to produce electricity when, or to produce other kinds of power, when they themselves they are precisely the people who keep drumming about the extreme weathers, the storms, the hurricanes, and all that. So do they want hurricanes or do they not want hurricanes? Okay, so his rebuttal is that these people should discourage the use of wind power because they don't want winds at all. They don't want storms at all. Okay, so the people who support the claim of global warming or climate change, they always keep saying that all this madness in the weathers and cycle of season is because of global warming. Okay, so the writer is providing their argument and then giving a rebuttal to that as well. He's providing the objection they might raise, and then he's giving a rebuttal to that at the same time. Okay, so maybe this article is doing a good job of pointing out the objections of the other party and then providing rebuttals to them. Okay, but you have to point out the specific objection of the opponent that this writer is bringing up, and then providing rebuttal to that. Okay, so what is the objection? What is the rebuttal? Again, what is the objection? What is the rebuttal? What is the objection? What is the rebuttal? You have to write 3 of them in the response on the worksheet. Now, this practice broadly is called critical thinking. So this tool, the Toulmin method, it helps you to be better critical thinkers. Now, critical thinkers are the people who do not take the arguments at their face value. Rather, they have an incisive look, and they are able to dissect the argument into its part, and thereby they can point out the weaknesses in the argument, and thus they can prove those arguments to be weak, insufficient, irrelevant, or useless. So this exercise in its totality is to prepare you to be better critical thinkers, so that as an educated person, when you read newspapers and articles here and there, you do not read those articles and just become the consumer of that information which is being meted out to you. Rather, you challenge that information based upon educated assessment of that